Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to welcome to our program here at Sharjah Broadcasting Authority on hope. And there is hope, as we always say, for the people who think their lives are hopeless. And today I'm going to talk about, unfortunately, people who have or think that their lives they are among the leading people of business and finance in the world. And as a result of that, they've unfortunately in many instances become somewhat arrogant because of that, which is very dangerous for anybody. And not only the people of this, but there's one thing which many of them are trapped in, and they don't realize it, that it is a trap, and they justify it based on the situation that we're in today. And that is the giving and taking of interest, or riba. And let's see what Allah says. In Surah Al-Imran, this is Surah number 3, verse 130, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. O you who believe, do not consume interest, doubled and multiplied, and be conscious of Allah in order that you may be successful. In Surah number 2, Surah number Baqarah, verse number 275, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Those who consume interest will not stand except as one stands whom Satan has destroyed by his touch. That is because they say trade is like interest. And Abu Sa'id al-Khudri reported the Prophet ﷺ as saying, during my ascension, when the Prophet ﷺ, by Allah's permission, ascended through the heavens, and he saw the paradise and he saw the hellfire, I passed by a group of people whose stomachs were as large as houses, and they were bending down alongside a path on which the people of Pharaoh, meaning the Pharaoh of Moses, were taken morning and evening to be tormented by the fire. On their return, Pharaoh's people were like beaten camels, neither listening nor sensible. When the people with large stomachs saw them coming, they tried to stand up but could not. So the people of Pharaoh trampled them, and they swayed back and forth. This will be their punishment in the barzakh. That is between their death and the last day. Okay? That means this is people in the grave. This is even before the day of judgment. Now people say, how could that happen in the grave? This is another dynamic. Barzakh is a zone, let's say, between this life and the hereafter, meaning after death, on day of resurrection, after death will come the day of resurrection, the judgment, and then after that will come paradise and hell. So the next phase of their existence after death. People says, well, I went to the graveyard, I dug graves, I stood in the grave. How could that be possible? We says, what we are seeing is what we see with our eyes of this world. The barzakh is another world. Even though the person is in the grave, even though a person may have been blown into many pieces, even if the person has been burned and there's ashes in an urn, or even if the person is in a casket or vault, it is another dynamic. And it is easy for Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I asked Jibril, who are these people? And Jibril answered, these are the people who consumed interest. They will not stand except as one stands whom Satan's touch has destroyed. And it's collected by Bayhaqi. And Samura bin Jundab reported in a long tradition that the Prophet ﷺ said, we, meaning the angel Jibril or Gabriel, arrived at a stream whose water was red like blood. And a man was swimming in it. On the bank of the stream was another man who had collected many stones. When the swimmer approached him, he would strike him with a stone, which would smash his face, and he would start swimming again. And as he approached the bank once more, the man in the bank would strike him with a stone, which smashed his face. When the Prophet ﷺ asked Jibreel concerning these two, Jibreel replied, the man whom you saw swimming in the stream and being stoned was one who had earned money by means of interest. And the Prophet ﷺ said, 4 kinds of people deserve Allah's not letting them enter the garden or letting them taste his favors. One is addicted to wine, one who accepts interest, one who is unjustly consumes the property of orphans, and the one who is undutiful to his parents, excepting the one who repents. So, where does that leave us, our dear viewers? What is our condition? Now, and there are many, many hadiths about the collecting of interest, the person who collects it, the person who distributes it, and anyone who is connected in that chain, the person who uses it. And people today will say, well, brother, there's no business without interest. There's no way to buy a car. There's no way to buy a house. There's no way to establish a business, as an example. And alhamdulillah, today we have interest-free banking, and I'm not making a commercial for interest-free banking, all right, as an example. But we should look for a method or means to do financial arrangements without interest. In some places in the world today, there are people who are not connected to a bank who loan money. We call them loan sharks in America. Loan money to people at very high interest rates, which is above and beyond, in many instances, particularly working people could pay. So they stay in debt. So there is an evil which is associated with it, and unfortunately many people don't identify it as such, and they look at it as a means of, well, I'm going to take this money from this guy so I can go ahead and do something else, and then they fall into that trap. They have to pay exorbitant returns on that money, which doesn't balance out in terms of their profit, and they wind up indebted to the person who gave them this so-called loan, which can be a catastrophe depending upon what it is you're doing. So we need to be very, very careful about this. And I found that many of the people who actually work in this, they're very liberal in their opinions, whereas they're very, very strong statements from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ about how unlawful this is, and to not touch it, don't go near it. But there are many people who say, what am I going to do, brother? This is the business that I'm in, society in which I live. It is incumbent upon me if I'm going to survive, or I'm going to profit, or just to maintain myself, I must get engaged. My suggestion to you, brother or sister, don't start. If you're proposing to buy a house or do a business, as an example, buy a car, in taking a loan out that incurs interest, don't do it. Live to a lesser level. Take longer to buy your car, take longer to save to buy your house. Be satisfied with that. Stay clear from this path. And if you can't get the money to do what it is that you need to do, feel that this is qadr Allah. This is the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not meant for you to do it. And stay and pursue those things which are pleasing to Allah. Stay in the path of Allah. Don't deter one way or the other. Be happy and say, okay, Allah wants me to be happy in this present situation. I'm happy in this. I'll be content with this because I'm obeying the commandments of Allah. I believe Allah is going to help me because I'm obeying Allah. Then Allah is going to help me. That is a test for me. Whatever it is, it's a test. And I have to be firm on this path. I have to keep my feet firm, steady, faced, focused on that this could be just a test from Allah to see if I'm going to waver one way or the other because the situations, and especially right now, it's a difficult financial situation, and many people since COVID have had very, very difficult circumstances in their business and also in their work, people who are working. But we must remember something. All of the money in every denomination is with Allah, not with the banks. What has been entrusted with the banks, it is all in Allah's control. No one in any bank can move one single note or one single coin without Allah's permission. No one on this whole earth. So we have to understand this, be in touch with this, and know this reality that whatever we have or whatever we're pursuing in this world, that we need a prescription. And that prescription is we need to pursue it according to the guidelines which have been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that is the real success. Everything else is questionable. And as long as we stay within those guidelines, that we are protected, that Allah will protect us, and Allah will grant us those things which are lawful for us, which will give us an opportunity to what? To strive in a way which obeying the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to steer clear of those things which are misguidance and those people who will come to misguide us and take us away from this clear, designated path for those who believe, those who call themselves believers, and for those who wish to become believers, who are striving towards those steps. It is clear for those who wish to see. So it is incumbent upon us, each one of us, to the best of our limited ability, to turn our path to that which pleases Allah the most. And we need to look at this in every aspect of our life. And one of them is interest. And most of us, maybe at one time or another, have been in a situation where we have been caught up one way or another with interest, or we've been offered an opportunity. And today, you see the people with all kinds of cards, they're swiping this card, that card, and many of those cards are attached to interest-based organizations. We should be very careful about this. Very, very careful, very watchful about what we're using, what we're doing, and not make excuses. Well, this is easy, and I will make it up later, and if there's a problem, then I can do this. No. Stay away from it. If it says interest, riba, usury, stay away from it as far as you can. Treat it like the plague. People saying, well, brother, you don't live with me. You're not in the society in which I live in. Your family is not my family. My family, they're very much involved in finance and investment, so forth and so on. I says, well, you heard what we said. It is not from me. It's what Allah has told us and what the Prophet ﷺ gave us as practical examples about what people are facing on a daily basis. And the challenge for the person who feels, well, you're holding back my future because you're telling me to not go to such and such a person or such and such an organization and get money from them. If I get that money right now, I'm guaranteed to not need any more money in my life. It's a very big test, isn't it? Very big test. But we believe in Allah. We believe that all of the money, from the smallest denomination to the largest, is with Allah. Not one fil will leave anyone's hand and come into my hand without the permission of Allah, without the knowledge of Allah. So we have to get them. People say, oh, brother, you're too religious. Everything is Allah, Allah, Allah. You're right. It is. We don't get that. It is. Everything can be changed, and anything and any time can be changed by Allah in the blink of an eye, if Allah chooses, until the last day. So you have to look at your choices, what actions you are going to take. If you need to correct and reflect, then take time out, reflect, and correct your life now while you have time. Tomorrow is not promised. And this is a reminder to me, I'm not doing this, the reminder to me, get your life on track. Your life is not guaranteed. You know your age. You know many people who have died before you. You're still living, but you won't be living forever. And what is it that you're doing presently to secure a good ending? That when you leave this world, that you're left in accordance with the pleasure of Allah. This is the most important thing, isn't it? That which we're doing will contribute to a good end. And that Allah will grant us His mercy, not because we've done good, but knows that what we've done to the best of our ability, that He will accept that. He'll grant us His mercy and we'll get paradise. This is our aim. This is our objective. Not the things of the world. Not that we cannot say the things of the world, we don't need them. We're not saying that. That we don't use them. We're not saying that. We're saying that we need to understand and distinguish between the things which we're doing in this life and how they impact us in relationship to our eternity. If there's something that is restraining my eternity, then I need to let it go. If it's something that's going to be pushing and supporting, then I know that this is something that's beneficial. And that's where I need to be going. I need to have my head clear. Regardless of who I am, what I'm doing, I need to have my head clear and distinct about what steps I'm taking progressively towards my hereafter, to my return with my Allah. And that every day, what am I doing? Every single day to work towards that goal. So think about it, my dear viewers. Time is running out for all of us. None of us know when Allah is going to take our soul. It could be today, it could be tomorrow. So stay focused with your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hold on to the rope of Allah. Believe that surely Allah can change all our situations. We have to change our lives, make effort to change and become more and more obedient and more submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of our own souls. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Broadcasting Authority on our program Hope. And we pray that people are getting hope from listening to the programs and striving to do those things which are most pleasing to Allah, that they do get the mercy and the blessing of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.